cheers.
Cheers. Coke Zero.
Yeah, bourbon and Coke Zero.
What bourbon are we drinking tonight, Tim?
Little Woodford tonight.
Nice.
Little double barrel.
I got some of that.
Mm-hmm.
We should get together, drink it together.
How about next Wednesday for the draft?
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Well, welcome to this week's edition of NBA Happy Hour. Sorry I was a couple weeks still behind, that we literally missed the finals. Life happened. But we're back here this week. I'm Tim Daniel with Sean Mackey. We are expecting to have Parker here. When that will be, who knows? But he should be here at some point. But we'll get to that for obviously. So we start the offseason. This is the first offseason episode of this new incarnation of me and Sean doing pods together. But this is our 9th time doing an NBA podcast starting the offseason. So
I was just thinking that. I was like, the first time we did it was which Olympics?
It was 16 Olympics because we started right before the Olympics, and it was like right in between the Cavs winning the title and the Olympics starting.
Okay. And that was on my my dining room table, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, because I went and watched the Olympic team play in Chicago.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. It was like right after Durant signed with the Warriors, so he got booed out. He got booed really loud at the United Center, and I was like,
yeah,
boo him in a Warriors jersey, not so much in a USA jersey. That's a different thing.
Like, yeah. This is a different entity. He's playing for us.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
But yeah, we're going to kind of go through kind of some off-season stuff, talk a little draft. Got some questions from our Patreon subscribers. If you hop in, have any questions, send them our way. And then we'll start obviously with, unfortunately, the Boston Celtics are NBA champions for an 18th time.
Yeah, that's another. They got another one out of us. Bill Simmons can gloat. So can what's his other guy on there? Kevin O'Connor. He's a big Celtics guy. You know.
Yeah.
Zach Lowe also started on a Celtics podcast, so we know where their loyalty lies.
Yeah. So obviously, so we're gonna dive into a few things with that. Obviously, starting with their run. So, obviously, they're 18th. Breaks their tie with the Lakers now. They are now, once again, the team with the most. Though the loser Celtics fans try to do this whole thing where they say they can't keep the Minneapolis titles because they were somewhere else. But George Mikan played for, and Elgin Baylor were part of the transition, if I recall. So they should count. And if we're going to take away the Lakers Minneapolis titles, then we should take away the Celtics titles when they had 7 teams in the league. All right. So.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Just kind of go and say what it was. That's not the point, though. They ran to the East. I know a lot of people are going to talk about how they got to the East, and then they ran to a Western Conference team that maybe was the best matchup for them to take full advantage of from in the finals. Because I still think they probably would win against a Denver or a Minnesota, but I think it would have been a more competitive series. But at the end of the day, the record book says 2024 NBA champions, Boston Celtics, and there's nothing you can say about coulda, woulda, shoulda. I think the first question I have here, Sean, is who do we blame more for this title, for the Celtics winning? Do we blame Milwaukee for trading Drew Holiday to Portland for Dame Lillard, or do we blame Portland for flipping him to Boston for Robert Williams?
That is that's a tough one. I guess I would say Milwaukee to Portland. I think that's I mean, that in the grand scheme of things, they can't win without that guy. Period. Like, yeah. I think he's so integral to everything that he does on that team. And but can we just, like, I just love to go back and just blame the Philadelphia 76ers for giving away Tatum. So, for Mr. Fultz, but at the time it made sense.
At the time, yes. Yeah.
At the time it made sense. You know what I mean? So I get it, but man, like
history is very different in that if you go, because Ben Simmons was without a doubt the #1 pick of his draft, and I know how it aged, but people point all the time to what if they had taken Jaylen Brown? It could have been any team. They were taking Ben Simmons that year. And then you mentioned, so the Celtics have the number 1 pick, traded back. One of the few times where trading back makes sense. We're going to talk about that later when we get to the draft conversation. But yeah, I mean, Philly, you're right. Philly is for sure in the conversation. Hunter says it's the Bucks' fault. So
Okay.
I tend to agree because Portland was not going to win at all this year, whether they had Drew, Dame, LeBron, Sam Bowie, Greg Oden, Brandon Roy. They just weren't going to win this year. So yeah, it's definitely Milwaukee's fault. Especially because it was such a goofy year for them, with everything they had. But
Yeah.
I think that it's definitely the Bucks' fault. I'm gonna go with that. This Celtics team, man, though, I think in this era of the end of the big threes, I don't think I would go and say qualify them as a big four by any means, but I think that their four were obviously better than anything anyone had to offer them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I can completely get behind that statement. And the whole like big three thing is like we're talking like all-star quality guards or players, not guards, but all together. And Drew Holiday and
Rules.
Porzingis, yeah, yeah, he rules. And Porzingis was there this year. I mean, and then Tatum and Brown are just such natural scorers. I mean, it is a deadly group of guys out there right now. And it's really like for the next couple of years, it's their title to lose, really, I think, at this point, which is weird for me to say. And the thing is, Porzingis is going to be in and out the rest of his career.
Yeah.
Like he's just not, he's frail on certain games, but he brings so much to the table when he does play, and he's such a mismatch and everything that he's brought the Celtics and everything. But I mean, it's crazy to think that they haven't won since 2008 and they're finally just now doing it, but they've remained incredibly competitive throughout the years, year in and year out. How many times have they been to the finals now over the last couple of years? What have they?
Since 08, twice.
Yeah, they've been twice. Okay, yeah. So
they've played in, I think, 7 or 8 Eastern Conference finals.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, Eastern Conference Finals. So it's like they were there, and they finally got over the hump. And do you think this, I mean, obviously winning a title, huge deal for those guys, this core, but do you think that this particular team is going to be able to stay together with the money situation? Because I know we were privately chatting about this the other day.
So if someone in the chat, I'm going to say this, and I'm not 1,000% I'm correct here, but because it's been so long since the trades happened. But if I recall, Holiday and Porzingis have already signed extensions.
Yeah, they have.
And then Tatum's going to get a huge extension, the biggest contract in NBA history. Any day now, that's going to be announced. It feels like so.
Yeah.
At least for a couple of years, yeah. But the whole second apron, the new salary cap rules, I don't think they had a super long window. You kind of mentioned a few minutes ago, you felt like it was going to be their title to lose for a little while now. And I understand where you're coming from. The only reason I disagree is because the last time we had a repeat champion was 17 and 18. I mean, 18 and 19. No, wait a minute. 17 and 18. Yeah, 17 and 18.
Yeah.
And so it's not a thing that happens anymore.
It's getting harder.
Yeah.
League's gotten much better.
League's so much better. I mean, this current Lakers team that we saw in 24 would win the title in probably 21. They were, it's just kind of how the league's kind of grown and gotten different. But I think that when you look at for them, it is going to be hard. But like the league's kind of cracking down a whole lot more on guys taking less than their value. So I don't know how many role players are going to be able to get to fill in these spots. But, if you read anything that's going on with the Celtics, they're talking about Luke Cornett coming back, hopefully, because he's their only guy, I think, that's unrestricted.
Wow.
Yeah, which is hilarious because we had him for 2 years in Chicago and we were like, this guy's terrible. And he goes there and he's awesome. Sam Hauser, who when I watched in college, I said, there's no way that guy can play in the NBA. I was wrong. So I think I understand why they're the betting favorites to win the title next year. history just says completely otherwise, that they can do it again because teams are going to get better.
Yeah.
Teams are going to get healthier.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what a training camp's like for Doc with Damon Giannis and what that looks like if Giannis is healthy and what do they get out of Chris Middleton. So we can kind of go
Yeah.
through that. Actually, Hunter Martin, who's in the chat right now, asked a question on our Patreon, and it was, who in the East do you think could be the team that potentially has the best chance to stop them from going back to the finals next year? And I thought a lot about this. There's like 3 or 4 teams I can look at, and Josh Beckley's here, who I know will appreciate this. The Pacers were a team I thought about because they're gonna have a full offseason of Siakam. I don't think people understand the difference between getting a guy at the trade deadline and having a training camp, how big that is.
Oh, it's huge.
And they're gonna get healthy. Halliburton's gonna get healthy. So that's gonna help a lot. They're gonna get better defensively. The Pacers have a lot of draft picks. So the Pacers are a team I'm really curious to see. I think could do it. Milwaukee, obviously, you suspect Dame's going to be in better shape this year after going through everything he went through last year. Did you see that thing where Doc Rivers basically said that he admitted he was overweight because he didn't want to work out because he didn't want to get injured because he was in the trade request?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like the Pacers have probably the sharpest looking runway right now with young players and what they re-signed Pascal Siakam to a big deal.
They did
yesterday or today. Yeah. So they're locked down. They're gonna be in really, really good shape. And also, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. It takes more than just playing well to win an NBA title. There's definitely always some luck that needs to be involved. Something has to go right for them, and maybe something has to go wrong for another team. And I look at a guy like Porzingis. Is he going to be, healthy playoff time next year? Does that open up any more opportunities for a team to get better and figure the Celtics out? So there's a lot of possibilities. I agree. I think with what they have right now, they're the best team, and now that they've won, I feel like they're going to have a confidence about them a little bit more. But hopefully it's not just a false confidence where they're like, we're the best team in the league, which I think happened to Denver. I think Denver, I mean, not to discredit what the Timberwolves did at all, but like Denver, it looked like Denver's title to lose during the season.
It looked like that for months. Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. If they're healthy and one of the guys on the Celtics isn't healthy, how far does this series go? Does it go, 6 games, 7 games? You don't know. So,
yeah.
And the Bucks, man, yeah, like you said, or think, getting Dame back, Chris Middleton, Giannis, all those guys in a training camp and seeing what happens. But I don't know, man. Where's Giannis at on contract?
Right I think he only has like 9 years left.
9 years left.
He signed that insane Bucks contract on it.
That's okay. That was last year. Okay.
That's right. He signed an extension last year.
Okay. I was trying to figure out how many years he has. He's locked down for a very long time for the near future. So
yeah, I don't think they have anything to worry about there. Other teams I kind of mentioned because they're gonna have some situations here. I would be scared of Orlando because
absolutely.
I think they're gonna get some nice vets this offseason.
Yeah.
I've heard Malik Monk linked to the Magic, and that's like a perfect fit.
Yep.
Like a perfect fit. And I'm really curious what that series looks like against Cleveland if they're healthy. Especially because with 7 games. So Orlando's a team that's kind of a sneaky one. I wouldn't bet on them.
Well, the one thing that Orlando really has with them, they really have the best runway of like a young team right now. They have some really, they're all on rookie contracts. And this is what you have to capitalize when you have somebody like, Wagner and Blanchero. When you get those kind of guys under a good contract and you add a couple vets and they, elevate their game next year, which I mean, history has said that they probably will. They've gotten better already. So I mean,
Suggs, he's really good, and
Suggs is great. Yeah. And Wendell Carter's still there doing his thing. So I think they have a nice little trajectory right now, but they got to get those vets this year and they got to make a run now while they can, because I think right now with the salary cap curtain coming and everything, this is going to be a time for young teams to really capitalize and go for it when they can, because history has shown the last couple of years, anyone can make it to the finals. After like the Heat made it last year, it was like, well,
and, and the bubble year too.
Yeah. So stuff can happen if you put a good team together. And at this point, if you're in the playoffs and you're a competitive team, you've got a shot right now, because, I don't feel like, even though I'm saying the Celtics are like the team to beat and everything, they're not unbeatable. I don't think they're unbeatable right now. I think the rest of the league was in a different place this season, and so a lot of things went right for them.
Yeah, a couple more teams I want to mention before we move to the next topic. Obviously the Knicks. You got to kind of account for what do they look like if they get Randall and Robinson back next year. Plus, after the year they just had, they have draft capital. What do they look like next year? I think they could be a threat. And then, of course, I have to say Cleveland, because they are they have the most interesting, potentially most interesting offseason between, do they keep their four guys together? Who's their head coach? What does everything look like for them in the future? Sounds like James Borrego might be moving into the driver's seat to get that job, which I think would be a lights out hire, because they need an offensive coach because they're plenty fine defensively. So I think those are a couple teams you can look at, but I still think the Celtics probably better than all those teams at the moment. But we'll see how things shake out the next couple weeks, because I don't think free agency is going to be a thing, but I do think there's going to be a lot of trades.
Like ever again.
It's probably not ever again.
Yeah, because it's like it's always going to be, I don't want to be here. You need to trade me right now for the rest of eternity. And that's not fun, because we just sit there and we talk about it for like 3 months before something happens every time now.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
It's not great.
Yeah, for sure. News that broke today. So Hunter asked about PG. Yeah, PG. We're going to talk about PG, Hunter. We're for sure going to get to that. Should we get to that now, or should we get to Monty Williams?
No, let's give them what they want. PG on the move.
So this is a conversation that's been coming up. It's been pretty hot since the All-Star break. You heard about the potential of going back to the Pacers.
Sure. Yeah. Who hasn't?
Yeah.
It's been a pretty loud rumor.
Yeah. Basketball ways makes a ton of sense. You heard about the Sixers, and when he was working with Embiid on finals coverage for ESPN, Embiid sitting next to him looks at him and goes, yeah, we could really use another piece or two. And the typical Embiid, like, hey man, like, we could both be injured together, just like you and Kawhi, and miss 15 games each. I shouldn't say that. Paul George did play like 73 games this year. So
he was great.
Yeah. He's the big, and Sydney asked the question, which was kind of biggest free agent to move. I think it's Paul George. So this comes down to, what does he think his future is with the Clippers compared to where anywhere else is? Because I think that the expectation right now is he's going to re-sign with the Clippers. And I understand that. It's where he's from. He's from LA. He's been there for a little while now. He plays for T. Lue. He really respects. You go on the list. Yeah, there's many reasons.
Yeah.
But what is the ceiling of this Clippers team? We've talked about this quite a bit. It's, we know who those four guys are, and those four guys are awesome. But, they're also, three of those four guys pretty often just randomly end up injured. And those four guys, I think, played together like, I think it was like 10 games that they had the four guys together.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It was something really crazy.
Like how, I mean, I wouldn't say this is like a team of washed superstars by any stretch. I think Kawhi and PG are both still really, really good. James Harden, obviously, he missed a step this year. I don't know he didn't look the same to me and a lot, but there was that little streak they had midway through the year, and we were like, holy shit, is this team for real?
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's how we always are about the Clippers. I feel like the last 2 or 3 years, it's been like, well, they're going to go on the run, and it's like, they are always a threat to win the title. But if your guys that are carrying your team are hurt so often or not playing, I'm talking about Kawhi Leonard mostly, but like, that hurts, man. It's difficult to progress or even build any chemistry or anything like that. And these guys are all pros. they can all play together. They have played together, so it makes sense. But I don't know, man. I agree. He's probably going to re-sign there. It's home. They're going to give him a good contract and everything. But a comeback to Indiana, huge move for the fans, ticket sales, and gives them a piece that they really, really need right now to make a run. You put Paul George on the Indiana Pacers currently. I mean,
with Halliburton, Siakam. Yeah, that's
Halliburton and Siakam. Yeah, I mean, and you look at that, and it's like, they could make the Eastern Conference Finals. They might be able to make the finals if everything clicks right. So, something to think about.
Yeah, and then Orlando's come up a couple times.
He ain't going to Orlando.
I know it's not the sexiest name in reports, but if you look at the roster, it would be a very nice fit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the Knicks are going to make a move for him. I think the Knicks are pretty comfortable with who they are. Western Conference wise, I don't know. I heard Jeff Teague talk about the Mavericks should get him. I don't know what that looks like because the Luka and Kyrie contracts are so big.
PG to the Mavs?
Yeah, I don't like that.
Oh, no. It's not going to happen either. They're just...
Right. Brooklyn doesn't make any sense. Hey, because the rumors are out there. Does a Paul George, Jimmy Butler swap make sense for both teams?
That's a fun trade, but I don't necessarily know. I don't know, man. Actually, that is an interesting trade. Now thinking about it, ooh, how would Jimmy be with those guys though?
I think Jimmy and Kawhi would be awesome.
Okay.
I think Jimmy and Russ would be awesome.
Yeah, because
Jimmy and James might be toxic because Butler does not like it when people take plays off.
That's mostly who I was thinking about. So Russell Westbrook. I don't think Russell Westbrook really needs to prove anything else. Like he hustles, he plays hard every time he plays. So I don't think Jimmy's going to have any problem with that. But Jimmy's a year older too. So right. I mean, it kind of depends. I don't know that honestly. Now that I think about it, it's a very, very interesting trade.
Yeah, I don't know if it would happen because I do think Butler will get traded.
You think he's going to get traded this offseason?
It sounds like Pat Riley's conversations he's been having with the media sound like he's a little sick of it. And then, of course, he's been kind of playing the Jimmy Butler in a social media game where he's talking about Cameron Brink of the Sparks, and it's like, yeah, 22 in LA looked really nice. It's like, okay, Jimmy, sure, pal.
Yep.
I don't know if Chris Paul. I mean, if JJ Redick gets the job, then maybe because Jimmy loves JJ Redick. But that's a conversation for here in a few minutes, I guess. Yeah, I think the Pacers are the team that I would want the most for Paul George to go to because of one, nostalgia, two, basketball fit would be great. They can make the East that much better. And man, the atmosphere in Cambridge would be nuts. People would be so excited. And Indiana right now is getting a lot of attention for basketball again.
Yes.
Between the Pacers for the Eastern Conference Finals, the Fever.
Yeah.
The Mad Ants were really good this year, which I know a lot of people don't really pay attention to the G League. IU is at a really great offseason, so the Hoosiers might be back next year. There's a lot of excitement around Indiana basketball right now again. So
it's great. Bring
Paul George in there. We might be able to make something happen here.
Yeah. That's, like I said, big thing. That's going to increase ticket sales a lot. Bringing him back there. That's going to get, the diehards from, 10 years ago back invested again. Like, holy crap, we doing this again? And he's still good. Yeah. What are the possibilities?
Yo.
What's going on?
Where you be?
Huh?
Did you fall asleep?
Yeah. No. So there's this serious problem. Oh, I spilled my water. So when I go to bed right now, all of a sudden I became a heavy sleeper, and I need to physically plug in my actual alarm clock to hear my alarm. My phone just does not do the job. Apparently, I literally went to bed at I was literally planning on just taking an hour nap real quick because I was just really tired. Go to bed. I wake up and it says 9:22, and I was like, oh God. So I just sprinted.
And here you are. You were still brave enough to show your face.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Well, We already talked about the Celtics title, so we're just talking about Paul George and where he could potentially play next year. And some of the teams we named were obviously Indiana. That's come up a lot. I named Orlando as a potential fit for the sake of roster, him and Paolo together. And he just gave Paolo all this credit on his podcast today. And then I mentioned the idea of the potential of a Jimmy Butler, Paul George swap. So these are all just playing around. Do you have anything in mind? Anyone you might see make sense for him, or do you think he's just back to the Clippers?
I kind of don't think he goes back to the Clippers, honestly. I definitely could see him back on the Clippers, but I really kind of don't think he does. And I think the 76ers definitely make easily the most sense, or the Magic. I think the Magic could make a lot of sense too. I mean, he'd be the 1A right there with Paolo, just kind of like he is on the Clippers. And, that team's going to get better and better just as time goes on. And then same thing with the 76ers. He's probably the number 3 option on the 76ers, even though he's probably the second best player on the team. I don't know. I think those two teams make the most sense. I don't want to see him on the Clippers again.
I don't either.
No.
I hate the Clippers
because I like Paul George too, and I just think he's wasting his career being on the Clippers.
That's exactly how I feel about Westbrook. I'm I love the career of Westbrook. I hate it's going to end with the Clippers.
Yeah.
I guess we have to throw it out there because it's come up quite a bit as well before we move on. Go back to OKC.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think the Thunder would do it. I think he definitely would be down to go back to OKC. I think 100% he would do it, but I mean, I don't think the Thunder would do it.
Who has a better chance going back to OKC, him or Durant?
Durant.
I think so too.
Honestly, Durant. Because I feel like the fan base would be more into Durant coming back too. I mean, he's just a much better player. So.
Yeah. Other offseason stuff we can get to here real quick. John, I hate to ask it. Is DeMar DeRozan a Bull next year?
Yeah.
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 Who else is going to offer him that money?
Yeah. God, you just kind of killed me inside with asking me that. It's just sent just a wave of depression.
But why do we feel that way? Because he's awesome. It's not like he's a bad basketball player.
No. It's not that. It's just the way that team's constructed. They're not going to win anything. And I don't blame DeMar DeRozan for signing it. If he gets a decent deal with them, he should take it. Unless he's dying to take less and then go win a title elsewhere. I mean, I don't know a better situation for him, but it's not a good situation for
the Clippers. Paul George for DeMar DeRozan. Let's do it.
I mean, at least I'd be doing something right. I'd do it in a heartbeat. I would. Anything at all would be great. Since they haven't made a trade in 2 freaking years.
If you were the Bulls, you'd do Paul George for DeMar DeRozan.
Hell yeah, dude. At least he plays defense.
Yeah.
What's the point of that trade? What are you accomplishing?
New blood. That's what we're accomplishing. We're getting somebody in there that's different. That's not been the same roster for 2 years. Parker. It doesn't even matter anymore.
Hunter says the Bulls need to hit
clowns.
the reset button. I don't know if they know where the reset button is. I think when they go into the control center, they're like, "Is it this one?" No. Okay, is it this switch? When you're at Hollywood Studios and you're writing Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run and you're the engineer and you're gonna just press all those buttons.
Just press it on the side. Yep, that's them. But they don't know where that is. But they don't know where it is.
Yeah, exactly.
They are so comfortable with mediocrity that they don't know anything else anymore. So
DeRozan's of course done his interviews where he's been like, I would love to play for the Lakers. Wouldn't that be cool to play at home? This whole just come get me, please come get me conversation.
I don't want him
every offseason.
No, it's weird though because I think DeRozan's an awesome player, but I don't want him on the Lakers. I really.
I know what you mean.
I just I don't understand how that would even work because he can't shoot threes really. So
I think in the half court he would be awesome as a point guard because that's what the Bulls had him do. But in transition, it's very different.
That's what he did. That year he averaged 7 assists or whatever on the Spurs.
Yeah,
he was really facilitating a lot. I mean, he's a good passer. He's not a bad passer by any means.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to get to the draft stuff, but so let's kind of touch on a couple things here real fast. Sounds more and more like JJ Redick's getting the Laker job, though. I heard today the Pistons are apparently linked to him. So, yeah, why would he do that? I agree. So Anthony Irwin yesterday basically said it's a done deal, and then Shams goes on Pat McAfee and is like, "Well, he's still the front runner, but nothing's set in stone." So I thought that was funny. Let's say hypothetically he gets the job because he's getting the job, right? Let's just kind of go and call it this. What is success for him in year one? Because I don't want to spend too much time on this because we've already done this a few times. But what is success year one? Is it winning a playoff series? Is that like, all right, cool, like we're good? We didn't win one last year because we ran into the Nuggets. This year we did, or is it it's not being in the play-in? Like what is success year one?
Success for me, if I'm the Lakers and I'm banking off this new coach who they're apparently thinking could have Pat Riley potential.
Yeah.
I think anything less of the conference finals is a disappointment.
Even with how good the West is going to be?
Even with how good the West is going to be, and I'll tell you why. We are here in the final twilight years of LeBron James's career, okay? You are squandering them if you are not trying to win right now. And I have a good feeling about JJ Redick coming to the Lakers. I think he's such an interesting.
Chris Paul's coming too.
Let's do it. Let's do it. It's going to happen. However, it will jinx the team into losing because he doesn't win. He doesn't win ever. Doesn't matter what it is.
Regular season will win more though, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Regular season will win more. But they have to win. They have to get to the conference finals. If this is otherwise, it's not a success because you're squandering, one of the all-time greats' last couple of years still playing at an unbelievably high level.
Yeah.
And Anthony Davis, and what a monster year he had. And does he continue that? Does he stay healthy? Does he, help this team grow? And does JJ, bring something out of those dudes?
Damn straight. Damn straight.
Yeah. The Celtics may have 18 NBA championships, but the Lakers have one in-season tournament championship. And by the way, that's more rare. So
and we're going for back-to-back.
Yeah. Hanging all those banners in the crib.
I forget, did they put up a banner for that?
They sure did, Sean. Put some respect on their name.
Yeah, they did.
That should have been more like.
That's disrespectful to even ask, Sean.
It should honestly have been like a fat head that was on their wall when you walked in, not actually in banner form. It was just a fat head.
I'm pretty sure that was more than Jalen Hood-Schifino's signing bonus was the $100,000 he won for. Actually, I'm kidding. It was probably more than Maxwell Lewis's though.
Wait, no, it was 500,000, right?
500,000. You're right. Yeah, it might have been more than the signing bonus. You're right.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a really. I really enjoyed the in-season tournament. I thought it was awesome.
When money's on the line, play hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, even though that's the equivalent of $1 for me, probably honestly, it's probably less than $1 for me for LeBron 500K.
What do you mean? You live with your parents. You're your money goes a very long way.
No, but what I'm saying is, think about it. LeBron, what is $500,000 to LeBron?
Nothing.
To an average, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's literally nothing.
Josh says PG gets booed at the field house. I think if he came back, it would be like 2015 LeBron. It for sure would be it would change. He does definitely get booed there now though. No doubt about it.
Yeah, he does.
All right, a couple more things before we get to some draft talk.
I wanted to mention real quick. The thing I'm so curious about with JJ Redick is I'm so curious what's gonna happen with his whole media career. Because he definitely makes more money now than he will as a coach. So he wants to coach is the whole that's the thing. Yeah. If he takes a job, he wants to coach because he's the biggest basketball sports media guy right now. So,
and I'm sure he doesn't feel the pressure of I might get fired because it's I have something to fall back on.
Can we also not to change the subject, but just talk about how Monty Williams just won the lottery this week?
Yeah. He's living life. I would be so happy if I was him.
Combined between Phoenix and Detroit, $85 million to do nothing.
Unbelievable.
He doesn't have to coach the Pistons. That like saves like 12 years of your life.
Right. He might be the Cavs coach now and just making $85 million from other teams.
Unbelievable. Just like, what kind of an organization invests that much money into a long-term contract, and they thought the situation was so bad?
Dumb one, Sean. Dumb one.
Even though this is an incredibly young, newly constructed roster,
it
that's
is
never been together. Why would you fire the guy that you're paying to invest in a long-term like plan for this team, and you get rid of him, and you let him sit at home for nothing?
The Pistons have 1,000% ruined like the growth of Cade Cunningham. Like, he will never be an all-star as long as he's in Detroit.
Nope. Yeah,
they have botched that so bad.
He's got to get out of there so bad.
Yeah, because he would be awesome, like in other places. The Jaden Ivey pick, where they can't decide what to do with him, and he was really good in stretches last year. I thought taking Thompson was a good pick. And I understand they keep losing the lottery, but I also feel like it's something that's got to, Jalen Duren is a really good player.
Love Duren.
Love Duren, dude. Seeing him in college, I was like, all right, this guy's the real deal.
He's so good. I think obviously boneheaded move going back to it, but they need
Hunter is new front office.
Yeah. It's gonna be that's just so much money to waste on that. What are they gonna pay the next guy?
I would do the Dan Hurley route. I'd be like, if I'm JJ Redick and I go to the Lakers, I'm gonna say, what'd you guys offer Dan Hurley? I want that. Because
even though his offer sucked, like that's why I think
terrible.
They weren't seriously. Like, I definitely think like they deep down wanted JJ Redick as their coach. And I'm gonna be honest, like as a fan of LeBron, like, and he's got like 2 years left, probably. I kind of wanted them to hire JJ Redick just because, like, all right, if they weren't gonna get Dan Hurley, like, first of all, I don't think Dan Hurley really would have been a great LeBron coach.
I think he would have been an awesome NBA coach.
Really? But like, do you think LeBron would have like listened to him though?
Have you seen UConn's offense? It's an NBA offense.
Yeah, 100%. But I just can't see LeBron like taking games screamed at age 40. Like, I just can't see that happening.
True.
I've
sat next to Dan Hurley yelling before.
LeBron hasn't been screamed at probably since like 2007. So like, I'm saying like I can't see him really getting screamed at.
Ty Lue got on him.
Probably a little bit, but
yeah.
I don't know. Also, my thing was I really didn't want them to do the same route and just hire another boring hands in the pockets assistant coach like that they've done the last couple of times. I was like, please don't do that again. I'd rather go out with a bang and at least try and hire a big splash guy, and it's 50-50, either sucks or amazing, than somebody we know is just gonna lead them to the 6th seed. Like, I'm happy if they hire JJ Redick over the other options. Like James Borrega or whatever, I was not for that hire.
So we were just talking about that. I think he's going to be really good if he gets the Cleveland job because they need an offensive coach there. But yeah, I think the Lakers
did a good job for the Hornets.
Yeah, the Lakers job would not be a good job for him. I agree.
No.
But Cleveland, where it's like he had LaMelo Ball for a couple of years, so he can use those tactics with Mitchell and Garland. Yeah, would be really good.
Did you see Bickerstaff like make those comments that were definitely about Jared Allen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
All right, one more thing on the current stuff before we get to the draft, because I've been meaning to talk about it for weeks and we keep missing it. So obviously this Inside the NBA thing's going on and TNT and what all. Barkley said at the end of the conference finals that he is going to be retiring after next season. I don't think I believe it. What do you guys think? Because I think it's a negotiation tactic. Because he's talked in the past, like when he was on Dan Patrick, he talked vividly about how upset he was, how many people were losing their job because of the TNT thing. And he's apparently rumored to have pitched the show to other networks for Inside the NBA.
Okay.
Plus, Inside the NBA is incredible. We need it.
It is.
Right? Basketball needs it. So if NBC wants to grab it, great. And keep everybody in staff, awesome. But
I'd love that.
I don't
NBA on NBC with those guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think this is a negotiation tactic by Barkley.
What do you think, Parker? You think he's leaving? Think he's for real?
I think the same thing. Like, I just can't imagine them not having a show. And he's like 61, I want to say. Like, he's too young to not be on TV anymore still. Like, he's still too young. Like, and like, that's not that old on TV and stuff. And I just think he's got more years of being hilarious and talking basketball with Shaq, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. And Kenny and Ernie Johnson's not leaving TNT because of everything
That
else with Turner.
sucks. That's the only reason I kind of believe Charles, because I just have a hard time seeing him. Because him and Ernie are like super close friends.
Yeah, they have
like
a podcast together.
They have a podcast together. Like,
so
that's why I have a hard time seeing him leaving Ernie.
So Ernie is still stuck at TNT. Is he under contract for a few years, or?
Yeah, because he does the baseball playoffs.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
He doesn't want to leave because he like announces baseball and stuff.
And March Madness, Turner owns the rights to most of those, and he does that. And
is that what they said? They would only be doing March Madness.
Yeah, that was one of the conversations. Apparently they were going to try to do that. Where TNT was going to try to get Big East games.
If they got a lot of college games, then that'd be all right. But like if they just did the tournament, then it would suck.
I don't know what I would do if they were doing stuff on site and I cover a Xavier game and I just see Charles Barkley sitting in the media room. That might be the one time I'm like, risk my credential.
Yeah, I would be starstruck at that.
For sure. All right, but I think that's kind of catching us up on everything current because we'll be covering everything throughout the offseason, the Olympics, and what all. Folks, next week is the NBA draft, and it's a weird one. And if you're reading mock drafts right now, there is no precedent. There is no this. It's like all over the place. And so I wanted to kind of just go through real quick and talk about it because
this draft sucks.
Yes. So if you're going into this draft, the way I've kind of been thinking about it is if you're a title team and you're in this draft, you're not looking for your Nikola Jokic's, your Jason Tatum's. You're more looking for your like BJ Armstrongs and your Bill Wenningtons and your role players that can kind of your Michael Porter Jr.'s is probably the ceiling of a guy in this draft.
Whoa.
I was about to say no. I was about to say that's kind of high. Because Michael Porter Jr. could average like 25 on a bad team for sure. I don't know if anybody in this draft could do that, honestly. Like now, look at it.
If you guys were like comparing this draft to another draft from the past, Kenyon Martin draft, that's where we're pegging this one at. Okay. Yeah.
But in this draft, Kenyon Martin would leaps and bounds be the number one overall pick again.
So we're comparing this to the 2000 NBA draft where Kenyon Martin was there, and then who else was in that?
Mike Miller. Reed Shepherd's Mike Miller in this draft, and
Mike Miller, Jamar McGlure was there.
He was good in the NBA.
Morris Peterson. You got some. So we're looking at some role players and some duds. That's pretty much.
Yeah.
And Kenyon Martin. So one good player and that. Okay.
I would say there's only I won't be shocked if nobody from this draft even makes 2 All-Star games.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone in this draft that I'm like that guy.
I'm sure somebody will make an All-Star game at some point, but 2, I don't know.
Yeah. All right, so this is why I wanted to kind of have this kind of go through everything because obviously it's like I said, if you read 3 different mock drafts, you have 3 completely different drafts that you're looking at. Yeah. So do we get to the Patreon question first, or we just kind of want to go through a few different things?
I mean, do you want to go over a couple prospects? Because I saw the Patreon question too, but
yeah. Well, okay, I'll start at number 1. So this is the conversation that's been going around. What do the Hawks do? And depending what mock draft you look at, it's either Alex Sarr, who I'm fine with, or Zachary Rissache, who I'm not fine with, and I'll explain why later.
Yeah.
But if I'm honestly Atlanta, in this draft where I know that it's not the sexiest draft, next year's draft is way better, I'm taking the most sure thing here, and I think I'm taking Donovan Clingan. I think I know who he is. I know what he is. And I know that he can play with Trae Young with his ability to roll to the rim.
I agree with you. It's just so funny that Donovan Clingan is a first overall pick. He would be a 13th pick in a normal draft.
Last year, he would have been the end of the lottery. I agree.
I mean, he's Derek Lively is what he is. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's Derek Lively pretty much, and that's what Derek Lively was, right? He was like the 11th pick, something like that.
Yeah, for
Get a
sure.
lottery pick.
Yeah, I think towards the end of the something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But with Klingon, obviously 2 NCAA championships. You know he's a winner, though he really only played a big role in one of those.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a really good role man. I don't know if he's ever going to develop another level of scoring than what he currently has. But compared to all the other guys here, and maybe this is just my college basketball knowledge going over my international player knowledge, I just feel like I can trust him more than I can trust any other name on the board.
So you're going with what you know.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
it.
There's been talks. Apparently, Atlanta really likes him. That's why they've kind of considered trading down because I feel like they can cut him at 4 or at 6 or
what is the just off the top of your head? And it's been a minute since I've even thought about the Atlanta Hawks, but what's their big man rotation currently going to look like this year?
So Clint Capella, who will probably end up a Bull. Let's be honest. Onyeka Okongwu.
They'd have to make a trade. They don't do those.
Yeah, that's true. Okongwu.
It's gonna be a combo of Vucevic and Capella's not winning a title.
Apparently, the Bulls, I saw this report today at 24/7, are trying to trade up to get Klingon.
I read that too.
You know what we should do? We should start doing a segment every week where, like, I just read you guys, like, fake or true Bulls moves, and you gotta guess, like, if it's true or not. You guys gotta debunk the fake.
You probably need other people than us because we'll know for a fact if it's fake because of their trajectory. So, but yeah, I think if I'm the Hawks, I take Klingon, and I think that if I'm the Wizards and Klingon's off the board, I'm between Alex Sarr and I hate to say it again because I know, just kind of piggybacking here, Stephon Castle. I think Stephon Castle is super underrated, and people have him at like 6th, 7th, 8th, and I'm like, you guys know that he was the starting point guard for the national championship team last year as a freshman and got way better as the year went on, right? I like Castle a lot. So, but I'm sure that they'll probably take Alex Sarr, but because they have a bunch of mediocre guards already.
I'll give you something. If you just said the first pick, I'll give you a prospect I like in the middle-ish. Like we talked about before, and like I wasn't the biggest fan of him when he was like the number 1 projected pick, but I still think Buzelis might have like the highest ceiling in the draft.
Yeah,
I think he has the most potential. He could easily be a bust, like easily.
For sure.
But you're talking about like a 6'10" wing with superb athleticism, guard skills, could shoot the ball. Like all the tools are there to be a star player. He just has to, capitalize on him. And he honestly has the most like star potential in the draft.
He for sure does.
I think like if anybody ended up actually being a star, it would be Buzelis, but he could also average 3 points a game for his career and be the next Anthony Bennett. Like it wouldn't shock me either way.
So it's funny you say that. So I do have concerns about him for that sake, but I also agree with you. I think he has the highest floor because if he just learns how to become a better ball handler, I think he could be awesome at the NBA level. The two guys I had the most concerns for him and Zachary Reese-Shea. And I literally said Zachary Reese-Shea because people were like, well, he has 3-and-D skills and he does. Like his skill set is definitely a nice skill set. He also has a lot of the same characteristics of Darko Milicic of like, well, he's not physical. He didn't measure really well at the combine.
There's going to be busts in this draft.
Oh, dude, there's going to be 3 or 4 misses in the top 10. I'm telling you right now.
Like not just misses like they're just role players. Like misses like they're not even rotational.
Like Hashim Thabit all over
again.
It's going to happen.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, you're saying 4 of those? 4 of the 10 will be
3 or 4. Yeah, I really think
okay.
So. Because the thing is like you're looking at this draft, and Sean, I know you're not as like educated and entwined in this as I am, and that's fine. But people are like, yeah, Cody Williams will be really good at 12. I'm like, who the hell? What GM in this draft is taking Cody Williams outside the top 8? If they do, if he drops to 9, someone should be fired.
Yeah, 100%. Another absolute raw prospect, but the potential's there with him too. He was a starter on an NCAA tournament team, so he's a little less raw than like Buzelis and stuff. But
yeah, Colorado's going to have 3 guys go in the first round this year, And they should.
That should tell you something.
Yeah. Because they were okay,
But still, KJ Simpson being a first-round pick is ridiculous. That's how bad the NBA draft is this year.
yeah, it is.
I'm not saying he's a bad player, but that's normally like pick 58.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, like legitimately, that's normally like pick 58. That's why I'm like, when people say stuff about Bronny, I don't even think it's ridiculous, like for him to get drafted at all, because I still think like, I mean, he was a 5-star recruit and stuff. Like he was
McDonald's
very
All-American. Yeah.
Yeah, like he had a lot of potential coming in. He had a bad college
Very
season.
competitive high school. Played. Yeah, for sure. You
And
want
this
to talk about
draft sucks.
you want to talk about Reed for a little bit?
Yeah, I could talk about Reed. I think he's about as surefire as like he's not going to be.
He's my favorite player in this draft.
Yeah. I think he's guaranteed gonna at some point. You know, at his absolute floor, he's Peyton Pritchard, and Peyton Pritchard's a very good player. So like
His ceiling,
at his worst, yeah.
At his ceiling, he's Mark Price.
Yeah, 100%.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa. High praise.
But the difference of Mark Price and Peyton Pritchard, is pretty drastic.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying like if you're Peyton Pritchard at worst, that's not horrible.
No, that's great.
No.
You can play with that. You can win a title with that.
Yeah, and like on a just decent team, not an amazing team, that's a starting point guard. Like seriously. So, I just think Shepherd. The only thing he needs to work on, truthfully, is I think he needs to get better like at finishing around the rim. I know he finished well in college, but like I just don't think some of his finishes will work in the NBA. And I think he needs to get better at using his 44-inch vertical. He doesn't use it.
Yeah,
like seriously, he doesn't use it much. Like the only time he really shows off how high he can jump is when he has a wide open fast break. Like he doesn't when he goes up in the lane, like use his athleticism to finish over people. He really doesn't. So I think he needs to get better at using his athleticism.
I think his point of attack defense needs to get a little more tightened better too. But that's everybody. That's not Alex Sarr in this draft. But yeah, man, I think so. Best hits for him. And I know it sounds silly considering there are two teams that draft really high. But I kind of had the two best hits for him as the Rockets and the Spurs. And the main reason I said the Rockets was I think for him, have a year or two under Fred VanVleet where you can kind of learn the system. And then you're the top point guard. You have obviously a ton of dudes who look at the numbers. The Rockets were on one hell of a run last year and they were really good. They're not far away.
No.
And you go put him there with the Jabari Smiths, the Jalen Greens, the Şengüns. You run a pick and roll with Reed Shepherd and Alperen Şengün, and that's pretty deadly. And of course, San Antonio, just having him as your lead ball handler with Wembanyama and have him kind of be your point guard of the future. And you have another top 10 pick in this draft. You can go get like a Cody Williams. You can go get
a Ron Holland.
That's
another guy I like in this draft.
Love
I like
Ron Holland. I love Ron Holland.
Where's San Antonio drafting?
They have 2 picks. I think they're. Let me pull it up again real fast.
I'm so sorry.
I know the Pistons had the worst record and once again lost the draft. Lost lottery because they're picking 5. Which they might have Buzel shot them at 5. That's a no-brainer. So the Spurs are number 4 and number 8. So
that's great.
Yeah, you can see Reed Shepherd and like Dalton Connect at 8. I like that draft a lot.
I hate Dalton Connect for one reason. He has no reason for me to hate him. No reason.
Because he's a
great player. Huh? No, you're gonna laugh. Why? Because I used to listen. Who I listen to for college basketball stuff is Mark Titus, and he just did not get all. He rode the man and how much he talked about Dalton Connect. I was like, dear God, dude. Like he's good. He's not the second coming of LeBron or KD. Like he would talk about this man like it was KD. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, I like him, but he can't play defense at all. He's gonna get spun around by people.
I think he's Doug McDermott. Like he's gonna have a long.
That's
NBA
a great
career.
comp.
Dude.
Like I think he's gonna have a very long NBA career. Always be like a player teams need on the roster, but not be like, always be in the back of trades. Like, oh, we got Dougie McBuckets. Like, you know what I mean?
That's a great comp, man. I really like that comp.
I just see that from him.
Yeah, man. So I'm really curious about if you're Portland at 7, because there's talks of Portland wants to trade up. which I'm normally anti-trading down in the NBA draft. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work well. But in this draft, you can probably get by with it because I don't think there's much of a difference, to be honest with you, between like 11 and 40. I think it's that kind of draft.
Yeah.
All right. So I like this Tijan Salon kid from France that people really talk about. He's Wemby's like best friend apparently, and they share an agent. I think he's going to be good. But am I taking him over Rod Dillingham, who I think could be a shorter Kobe White? No, not doing that at all. I think Rob Dillingham legitimately is a 2 inches shorter Kobe White. His scoring, 3-level scorer, really good ball handler, could just explode out of the blue and just like heat up for you. It could be a microwave off your bench. I would not let Dillingham drop any farther than 7.
I love the idea of him being a 6-man on like a good team. Like,
I do too, man.
I think he could be like a shorter Malik Monk, like that type of vibe of a player.
Could you imagine him backing up Ja in Memphis as they get healthy next year?
No, I saw that. Back? I like that one. I've seen him like as Ja's backup. I like that. He's just got to put on a little weight, but that'll come as he gets older and stuff. I think he has all-star potential too. Like I think he's one of those few guys with all-star potential. But I just also think it could take him a couple years to figure stuff out in the NBA. Not like how Monk like really struggled.
But how Kobe White
Charlotte did. Or Kobe White, yeah, Kobe White really struggled early in his career. Monk really struggled. Like a lot of these pure just bucket getters struggle early on in their careers. I mean, think about it. Lou Williams sucked at the beginning of his career. Like a lot of these guys that are just like
Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant sucked.
Yeah. Are we allowed to say that? Are people gonna get mad at us?
Don't take that clip out of context and copy and paste it everywhere.
Tim Daniel, Kobe Bryant sucks.
Look at this idiot.
Right.
What a terrible. What an L take.
Barker, you're gonna hate me for this. I think the Lakers, if he drops to the 17, I think the Lakers are taking Zach Edey.
Oh no, I know. Yeah, I've seen that.
I just feel like since they won the title, the backup center position for them has been atrocious. Yeah. They've had so many people in and out of there.
How do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about his trajectory? I'm always curious because, obviously he was so good in college. His game is so different.
I don't think he's a great lateral mover as far as if you're having him, he's got to play a lot of drop coverage defensively because there's just no way on a pick and roll he's going to be hunted. But on the offensive side, I will say this. He's a really good screener. So if he goes to the Lakers and you have LeBron going downhill and you have him to kind of there when Anthony Davis needs some minutes off, I think that's a good fit. If people hack him, he's a really good free throw shooter. So I don't love him per se. But I think that he could have a role in the league.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I used to not be a big fan, really, like watching him play a lot of times, but I've really grown to like him, especially through their run. They went to the title game this year. I think he could be a decent backup center somewhere.
Okay.
I agree with you. That's like he's like I've seen people like before, like last year and stuff. I just kind of thought he was Taco Fall.
I did
now,
too.
Like now, no, he's a lot more skilled and stuff than like Taco Fall. Speaking of which, Taco Fall was celebrating with his former teammates. Did you see that?
I saw that. Yeah, so Tankathon right now is Edey going to the Bucks at 23, which is the funniest thing of all time. If Doc Rivers could sack Edey, dude. But there's like a lot of you mentioned Ron Holland. I like Ron Holland a lot. I like Cody Williams a lot. Really, really high on Devin Carter out of Providence. Just maybe it's because I saw him play in person for a couple of years.
Yeah,
but
I've seen a lot of people are high on him.
There's just no way he's bad. Right? Like he's just one of those guys that like you might get him in the middle of the first round. Like he might drop to Philly at 16. He might drop to the Lakers at 17. There's just no way he's bad. He's just one of those players. He's not great. He's not going to go and like tear the roof off that for your offense, but he's so good defensively. He's a really good point of attack defender. He doesn't always need help in a nice situation. I think he could be a really good defensive player in the NBA. I could do this forever, but I want to make sure we don't get. So other guys I want to make mention of, and if you guys have any you want to throw in, by all means, before we get to Patreon questions. Personal players I really like that I think have a lot of prospects. I'm gonna go to G League Ignite. Tyler Smith.
Saw you tweet about this guy.
Like him a lot. So watched a lot of G League film recently because I had nothing else to do while I was on vacation. And he's got a clip, man. He's a 6'10" power forward that can shoot threes. There's always going to be a place for that in the league. Now, he can't play defense for the life of him. He gets in foul trouble all the time. Tall guy who can shoot threes who gets in foul trouble. I'm pretty sure just played in the Western Conference Finals. Yeah. Not saying he's cat by any means.
Tim Daniels says Tyler Smith is cat.
Right.
The next season when he averages 1.3.
Yeah, he's playing in the G League.
We'll have to send it. We'll have to clip that one.
So I think I would absolutely love if he was at 20 for the Cavs. I think he'd be a really nice fit for the Cavs.
Should I give my favorite outside the top 10?
Yeah. That was Sydney's question. Favorite non-top 10 guys.
That was her question. Yeah, I'd say Isaiah Collier because most mock drafts have him outside the top 10. I don't understand why he's outside the top 10 in a lot of mock drafts. Like, I think he has more potential than most of these guys in this draft. He was the number 1 player in the country in high school. He's a freak athlete at the point guard position. He creates his own shot really well and stuff. Yeah, he put up big numbers on a bad team in college, but like he can't do anything. Like if you watched USC, if you watched any USC last year, it was a tough watch outside of Boogie Ellis and Isaiah Collier. Yeah. Like their three forward center combo was horrific. Like they were like DJ Rodman is horrible. I watched a good amount of their games, and like he's bad. And just overall, I think Collier has potential to be a star in this league.
I do like him a lot. There are definitely some things that do kind of worry me about him. But you're right. I mean, he had 2 games in college last year where he scored in single digits.
Yeah.
He was pretty unbelievable at times.
He's gonna at worst be like 10 points a game in the league, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like that's his floor.
Yeah, he's very skilled. Underrated dude that I really like is Osu Ighodaro out of Marquette. Just because he kind of fits the Draymond Green mold besides the potential suspensions.
We don't know yet.
Physical defender, will fight anybody for a rebound. Kind of got lost at times in Marquette because of Tyler Kolek, but I think he has a chance to be really good. And then I did really want to talk about Deron Holmes. So the rumor about Deron Holmes out of Dayton is he got a promise already at 28 to Denver. NBA, 27 teams who have the 27 picks ahead of them. Do not let Deron Holmes go to the Nuggets. I am telling you, it will be a bad move for the rest of the league if he ends up there.
I agree. He's definitely one of the
rebound
most
machine
players in this draft.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's a lottery guy, but Milwaukee, New York, Washington, Minnesota. God, he'd be awesome in Minnesota. Him and Naz Reid coming off the bench. That'd be awesome. I just heard
you say Minnesota like in a Minnesota accent. Like I just like in my head heard like Minnesota. I heard like Minnesota. Yeah, I was like, I don't know why. I agree with you. He's a really versatile player, and like I don't want one of those teams to get him either. I don't know. I'm curious to see how this draft class is in 5 years. I wonder if it's going to live up to the hype, like as the worst draft class ever. Like, will it be that bad? Is the real question here.
It could be. Do you like Bub Carrington?
Who?
Carlton Carrington from Pitt, the point guard at Pitt.
I didn't even know who that is. I'm gonna be honest. I'm very knowledgeable in like the lottery, and then I know like certain guys.
Okay, that's
I see him at 17. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I like him. Right. He's a point guard that rebounds, and so I'm a fan.
All right, that's hilarious though, because I'm looking. All right, so I've looked at the entire first round of this mock right now. There's 2 players I don't know. Yves Misi from Baylor. I think I do know who that is though. Is he like big athletic guy? Okay, I know who that is. Good. All right, know him. Pacome Dadier, don't know him. And then the last one I don't know is whoever you just said, Carlton Carrington. So I don't know 3 guys in the first round.
Yeah.
I like the Da Silva guy from Colorado. I like him a lot. I think he's gonna be just an awesome 3-and-D wing. Like seriously, I think he's everything NBA teams are looking for at this point.
See, I feel that way about Harrison Ingram, who I know a lot of people are really low on because of his age. But in this draft, I think he's for sure worth a swing.
That's how I feel about Terrence Shannon Jr. too. I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to be a good, productive player at worst. I don't think he's going to be bad by any means, but he's old as hell.
I'll tell you, a second rounder I really like, and Parker, you'll laugh at me, is Justin Edwards. I know he was terrible last year for Kentucky.
No, I agree with you. He was good in the second half of the season, though. He got a lot better as the season went on.
I think Justin Edwards, if he goes to, like, I'm looking at a mock now that has him at Indiana in the second round.
Actually, he was the number 1 player in the class, I believe, when it all ended. I believe
he was
the number 1 player.
Yeah, Brandon Boston too.
Yeah, anybody who's the number 1 player in their class, like, and then just doesn't have a good freshman year, I'm always still like, I feel like those guys never end up like being absolutely for a second round pick. They always end up being better than you thought. Like Brandon Boston has not been good by any means, but he's still better than the other guys you could have drafted at 51 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I feel like those guys are always like for second round picks. Like I don't know. I agree with you. I in this draft, I'm kind of shocked he's still a second round pick off pure potential. Like off pure potential, I'm shocked he's not a first rounder. Like he's like a 6'8" wing with freakish athleticism, decent jump shot. Like I don't know.
Yeah. So I'll list a couple guys we haven't talked about before we move on and get to the last question. To answer Sydney's question of players I like outside the top 10, I've already talked about Tyler Smith. I talked about Deron Holmes. Jacoby Walter out of Baylor. I like him a lot. Super athlete. Can score at multiple levels. And this guy is going the end of the second round, a lot of mocks, and I don't know why. Why are we like just forgetting about Tristan Newton? 2-time NCAA champ, starting point guard of one of those teams, was a more of an off-ball player last year at Castle. He's really good. He's a guy that could potentially play in the NBA for 8-9 years. I don't understand why we're just like, yeah, he would be really good at Dallas at 57. I'm like, no, like you want Tristan Newton. He's a guy you want on your team.
Yeah, I agree with that take. I like Shireman from Creighton.
I didn't like him until I saw him in person, and then I was like, "Oh, yeah, this guy's really good."
I still like. I feel like these guys were saying like I like him. Like I still feel like they would be undrafted in most years, like drafts. Like I don't know. It's a hard thing this season. I really don't know what's gonna happen with this draft.
I'll never forget when I sent you to work that Xavier UConn game, and I was like, "Let me know what you think of Jordan Hawkins after you see him in person." And you text me, and you're like, "Lottery." I was like, "Okay."
And he was like a second round pick at the time.
Yeah, we were like, "How's this guy second round pick? He's awesome." Like we were like, "Is he gonna go to the Lakers? Because that'd be great."
Imagine if they got him.
Yeah, they got Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Don't remind me. Could have Hawkins too.
Yeah, that's the hard one.
I mean, in defense though, I had no idea Jaime Hawkins was going to be a stud.
Right.
In the NBA. I didn't know that.
All right, so our last question from our good friend, our leader, Nate Dotson. What does it say about this draft that the only person I can name is Bronny James? The correct answer is
join Sean.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I agree, buddy.
It's just so it's sandwiched between last year's draft, which obviously had a guy who could potentially be the best player in the world next year. Has the potential to be just that. Scoot Henderson, obviously, is what I'm talking about. And next year's draft,
my stock.
I love Scoot. I do too. And next year's draft for 2025, which is deep. So Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper. There's so many guys in next year's draft. This draft is like right in the middle, and it just doesn't keep this trend going where, think about it. 2020, really solid draft. 2021, also really solid draft. 2022, good draft. Last year, great draft. Then this one.
I'm trying to think. What was the 2022 draft?
That was it was the year after Cade.
Yeah,
so Cade was 21.
Yeah. Cade Scotty Mobley was 21. 2022 was who?
Hold
Oh,
on.
who was the first pick? This is making me mad.
Paolo.
Yeah. Palo, yeah, that draft has been okay.
Paolo,
outside of
Chet,
Palo.
Jabari, Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivey, Ben Mathurin, Shaden Sharp, Dyson Daniels, Jeremy
Yeah, that
Sohan,
draft,
Johnny Davis.
it's kind of been okay outside of like Chet and Palo.
Let's say,
Truthfully,
I would say 9 hits besides Johnny Davis in the top 10. Those
you'd
guys
say
are all.
Jabari's a hit for the third
Yeah.
pick.
Look how well he played the second half of the year last year. He was really good.
Yeah.
And then Jaden Ivey would be a hit if he played more. If he
If
had a
he had a
coach that
different
played him.
coach. He was a hit his rookie year. Last year he wasn't a hit, but
I don't know. Maybe I should take Dyson Daniels off the board. So, depending the day you watch him,
Dyson
it's a hit.
Daniels is not a hit. No.
Depending the day you watch him,
Wait,
it's a hit.
no. He was barely a rotational piece on the Pelicans. I don't know if he's a hit for a top 10 pick.
This draft does kind of get worse actually after Duran. No, I don't know, man. So it's like
not
up and down.
Great, yeah. It's kind of a medium. It's kind of decent.
So after Duran, Jalen Williams were 12 and 11. I mean,
But
12
I
and
think
13.
Palo saves it because Palo's been way better than we thought. I think. Like Palo looks like he could be a top 5 player now. Like that's not what I thought before this draft. I thought he was like all-star potential.
This draft kind of has a wave after 13 with Duran. 14, Ochai Agbaji, you go down. 15, Mark Williams, you go back up. 16,
good.
AJ Griffin, you go back down. 17, Tari Eason, you go back up. 18, Dalen Terry. 19, Jake LaRavia, I'll go there.
Yeah, he's not for 19. He's not a horrible pick.
20, Malachi Branham. I still have stock in. I think could be good somewhere, so I'll kind of do a little bit of this.
He's just not a point guard.
Right. Christian Brown, Walker Kessler, David Roddy. It's like, yeah. So solid draft, not great, not terrible. Then last year, like I said, last year's draft is if Scoot Henderson hits, if he ends up like improving and playing as well as he did the last month of the year, with how good Brandon Miller was, we know what Wembanyama did.
Thompson at the end of the year, amen.
Yeah.
Asar just has no offensive abilities.
Like, it could very well be a sneaky nice draft. Because remember, people going into the 2020 draft did not like it, and Sean and I are sitting there like, you guys don't like Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball?
Well, I'm gonna be completely honest. The thing I never understood from the jump, like this is not even being biased. I never understood why Tyrese Maxey was like picked
17th. Yeah, he was
I thought he was in the 20s.
Yeah, he was in the 20s.
You're right. He was in the 20s. Yeah,
because I remember talking to scouts, and I'd be like, I think he's a top 5 player, and people laughed at me.
Yeah, I did. I never understood it. Like the dude was a bucket getter as a freshman on a top 5 team, and they had him at like in the 20s. I didn't understand it at all.
Yeah,
like he was 21. Like I thought he was a top 10 pick easily in that draft. I never understood that. I think maybe if COVID wasn't a thing and people saw him work out more, he would have been a higher pick. But still, I did not understand that one.
I'll never forget the 2022 draft. Before we get out of here, going into like the day of, we all thought that the Magic were taking Jabari Smith. You remember, like that was our conversation.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then that day, all of a sudden, they looked at like the draft, like the draft odds on like FanDuel, and it was like Paolo Banchero had this random jump to the best odds to be the number 1 pick, and we're like, oh, that can't be coincidental.
Yep.
Yeah, the first what's it called? The first podcast we ever did together was the first podcast I ever did with you guys was that draft podcast we did for that draft. Like a couple days before the draft, we did like a mock draft, and I got shit. I got shit for saying Ben Mathurin was going to be better than Jaden Ivey, and through 2 years, I'd say Ben Mathurin has been better.
Yeah, big Ben Mathurin 2 years.
Everybody was acting like I was nuts for saying that because I was like, I just like him better, honestly.
Yeah, I like
it. It was looking really good when he was averaging 20 as a rookie, but then it slowed down a little bit. It slowed down, but as a rookie, it looked really good for a minute there.
Yeah, he kind of had some weird stretches last year where he'd be really good, and then he just wouldn't play for a week. So
yeah, I think his role was kind of inconsistent.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I think if all goes as planned, next Wednesday for the draft, we'll all be together in my basement.
Yes.
So I got hopefully get this thing to work again.
I won't take a nap.
Yeah, I'd hope not. Not at my house.
So I'm helping my dad coach basketball now. So we had practice 5:30 to 7. So I got home and it was like 7:30, and I was like, I'm taking a quick hour nap real quick. I should have told somebody to wake me up and then I checked my alarm. It was 9:17. I was like, mother start. I was pissed.
That's all right, buddy. You still showed up. That's all that matters. So yeah. Well, yeah, we'll be together next week. And then after that, we have free agency in the Olympics and summer league. So we have like a loaded summer. I'm kind of excited.
Always.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to watch. I'm kind of excited to watch the Olympics as well.
I am too. The first game is this Sunday. I'm on my cruise, so I have to see if I can find a television that I can watch Team USA play against Jokic.
I guarantee you'll have a TV on the cruise that'll be playing the game.
Yeah, because it's like It's like 3:00 in the afternoon that they play.
You'll figure it out, man.
Yeah. I just don't want to play France. I just hope they can find a way to not play France until the medal round. So, so of course, thank you all for tuning in. Obviously, like I said, this is kind of like our passion project show here on the Riverfront Network that Nate and Chad just let me do to get all my NBA feed out of my body and not stuck with tweeting stupid shit on there. So I appreciate it. But if you're checking us out for the first time, of course, give us this nice little subscription, like this particular video, whatever podcast app you're using, please give us a follow on there as well and a nice solid review. So on behalf of Sean and Parker, we'll be back next week about talking the NBA draft. Looking forward to it. See you all.
See you guys.